If we say Saudi Arabia, the first thing you'd probably think of is sand. Lots and lots of sand. But that won't be your thought anymore after watching this video, because Saudi Arabia discovered something that would change the world. Saudi Arabia has discovered hidden fertile lands. So how were these rich farmlands discovered by the people, and what is the role of the Saudi Arabian government in this discovery? Let's find out. The largest desert in Saudi Arabia is Ruba al-Khali, which has an area of 650,000 kilometers in area. The desert itself is even larger than France and covers a significant portion of Saudi Arabia. The area is known as Empty Quarter because of the long history it holds. Rulers left the area as such after several failed attempts to build a town there. Due to its high fertility, the southwest of the nation was the only part of Saudi Arabia that was used for crop planting. The rest of the nation was a huge stretch of sand. The annual amount of rainwater in Saudi Arabia is less than 150 millimeters. They were only able to grow dates and vegetables as they were faced with intense heat and rapid climate changes. They became highly dependent on both of these agricultural goods. It was highly inadequate for people to grow a wide variety of crops. They had no choice but to search for fertile lands to become self-sufficient. Saudi Arabia became one of the largest exporters of dates. The people of Saudi benefited from this as it was a major source of revenue for them. Saudi has limitless oil reserves and great oil production capacity. What amazes most people is that oil is available at a very cheap cost in Saudi, but at the same time one has to buy water at high prices. What do you prefer to be the cheapest, water or oil? Let me know your answer in the comments. March 1934 saw the discovery of crude oil in Saudi Arabia. Since then, the country has faced no problems producing oil. It has become the country's major source of income. 17% of the petroleum reserves found in the world is from Saudi Arabia. This newfound wealth later on became their major income generation source. It benefited the government as well as the people of Saudi Arabia as new doors of opportunity opened for them. But they were not content with their agricultural production, as for them it was a dead end. For years, the country was heavily dependent on agricultural goods imported from other nations, and they didn't want to continue it anymore. The country has to attain self-sufficiency, and the government took the necessary steps towards it. The Saudi Arabian government and farmers were in search of fertile lands to increase their agricultural production, and they were able to find more and more fertile lands as the years passed by. The country increased their agricultural production and transformed itself into one of the major exporters of agricultural produce in the world. Their journey from being an importer to an exporter of agricultural goods was not easy. They worked their way to it with effective planning and efficient execution. Fish, chickens, eggs, dates, and wheat are now being exported by the nation. Flowers were also supplied. But how did this barren territory become such rich farmland? How did Saudi Arabia change in a miraculous way? Was it a divine act? The Saudi government took action to handle issues with agricultural production and the scarcity of profitable farmlands. The government started by making technology investments and concentrating on building infrastructure in rural regions. They intentionally developed futuristic plans to launch a significant production of crops. They invested the money they made from selling oil and turning Saudi Arabia's arid desert into productive farmland, and they set up numerous routes for the production of dairy and poultry. Then they quickly grew to be significant wheat and shrimp producers. The fertile farmlands were not magically discovered by people, but the government's effective strategy resulted in the creation of productive farmlands and a rise in agricultural revenue. One of the major problems faced by Saudi Arabia was the scarcity of water. They didn't have much to depend on, and for years they struggled to find a solution to solve this major issue. With the new agricultural strategies of the government, they were able to address the issue and find a better solution to it. Let's take a look into what they came up with. Aquifers came to their rescue. Saudi Arabia is covered in deserts, but the land is shockingly not as dry as we see. It has water content, and the only problem is that it requires a way to access it. The government decided to install deep tube wells in all the prime areas of agricultural production. From the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea, the government's desalination plan was implemented. They made use of seawater through this process. People were able to have access to drinking water without paying a high price, and it was also used for the cultivation of crops. Saudi Arabia didn't have to suffer from water scarcity anymore. The Saline Water Conversion Corporation was given the authority to run the 27 desalination plants installed throughout the country. They were able to convert 3 million cubic meters of seawater into drinkable water in a single day. This benefited the country more than any other government strategy. In addition to this, the metropolitan business companies started recycling water. It was widely accepted by the people of Saudi that they started recycling home water, and it was used to water their crops. The practice of recalling water made them as environmentally friendly as possible. Their initiatives were widely appreciated by the people of other countries. They also built several new roads and mapped out quicker ways to reach the market. Agricultural farmlands and markets were linked together, making it easy for farmers to get access to both areas with no fuss. It significantly reduces the time of travel, and people started buying more fresh produce, which benefited their health. It also created an awareness among the people about the hard work and sacrifices of the farmers and how they should be given respect. People became more involved with agricultural production, and this in turn benefited the government as the people started supporting the initiatives of the Saudi government. They realized that it was for the betterment of their country and that it would give their country a better position in the international agricultural market. Foreign countries began approaching the Saudi government to know how they tackled their decades of agricultural issues within a short period effectively. They were shocked to know the strategies developed by the country and how perfectly they executed each and everything with the support of their people. The Saudi government didn't want to neglect any kind of farmers in their country, as they realized that farmers are an essential part of attaining self-sufficiency. They gave importance to regional farmers and took the necessary steps to support them. The regional farmers were provided with loans with no interest, and they received technical support for agricultural production from the government. They had access to several commodities and services, which included electricity and fuel at a very low cost. They can also get duty-free farm equipment from the government. They also received a few other perks. Often, the government offered several benefits to the investors. Foreign investors are exempted from paying taxes for the next 10 years of their investment. This boosted the investments from other nations, as they were all captivated by the attractive offers put forward by the Saudi government. The government went the extra mile by implementing investment laws more strictly. It was formed in 2000. This equally benefited the local farmers as well as foreign investors. Loans and subsidies were provided by the Saudi British Bank situated in Riyadh. Several organizations were formed to make sure that agricultural production takes place smoothly. The government doesn't want to repeat this history of dryness and dependence on other nations for agricultural produce. They want their country to be self-reliant. They didn't want to spend most of their revenue generated from oil production on exporting agricultural produce from foreign nations. They want to warn the trust of their citizens, who proudly believe in their efficient government. The transformation of the nation was significantly aided by the Saudi Arabian administration. They began the process of becoming self-sufficient. They accomplished it within a short period and started on their path to becoming one of the world's primary exporters. Do you think Saudi Arabia attained self-sufficiency? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Saudi Arabia sought to serve as a role model for all nations. They made donations to overseas aid and joined the United Nations Food Assistance. They have compassion for the nations that experience food supply issues because they have been there themselves. With quick decisions and clever preparation, the nation has altered its course. The government supported its people while miraculously transforming the nation. Do you think Saudi Arabia can be an inspiration to other struggling countries? Do you believe Saudi Arabia could improve their nation even more? Let us know in the comments.